Hello everyone, welcome to the third episode of Intellipaat Podcast. Today we are going to talk about data science and what you can do to get into this field. And to get you started, we have a very esteemed guest, Mr. Abhinav Harsh with us. He has 10 plus years of experience in the field of data science and is currently leading the team of data scientists in renowned organizations such as Fractal. Through this conversation, he has covered the dynamic responsibilities of data scientist, how you can crack data science interviews, what you can do to get started in the field of data science, and much more. So guys, make sure to stay tuned until the end of this podcast. So we have Mr. Abhinav Harsh with us for this podcast today. A very warm welcome, sir. It's an honor to have you over this show.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd like to start this conversation by taking a little deep dive into your day-to-day life. So you work as a lead data scientist in an organization such as Fractal, which had made a name for itself when it comes to data science industry, right? So I'd like to know how it seems to be a data science person in organizations such as Fractal, and what responsibilities, what challenges do you face in your day-to-day life? So just give us a bit of a synopsis about you being a data scientist in a Fractal.
All right. So, if I talk about myself, right? So, lead data scientist in Fractal, and as you said, right, Fractal is a very established company. It's a very known name, right, in the world of data science. So, as a lead data scientist, my role in Fractal is it kind of revolves around two things, right? There are clients, right, and then we have teams. And the kind of work that we are doing, or the kind of work that the teams are doing, that is something that we try to bring to the client. So, as a lead data scientist, I would say my major role, my 30% of day-to-day's job is about talking with clients, getting to know what their problems are, getting to know what our future scope of work can be, getting to know where Fractal can help these clients, right? And I would say the remaining 10 to 20% would be collaborating with my team, right? Because, so let's say that if a client comes to us and they say that we have to solve a data science problem. So if I take an example, let's say they have to solve a forecasting problem wherein they want to forecast their inventories, they want to forecast their sales, right? Now, it is the job of us as the leadership of the company to guide the client and to tell them that, okay, this is the kind of team that we can form. This is the kind of work that we can do over here. And on the basis of conversations with the client, then we go ahead and we form a team. Then let's say that we have gone ahead and we have started to work with this particular client, right? So now as a lead data scientist, my responsibility will be to take care of whatever use cases they have, right? My responsibility will be to coordinate with my team to get that work done, to get all the basic things right. So let's say if you're talking about a data science project, data is the crucial aspect.
Yeah.
Without data, we cannot do
Completely.
anything, right? So if a client comes to me and they say that I want to do this and they don't have data, we cannot do anything, right?
Yeah, right.
So that is the kind of conversations that we need to have, because we cannot just go and say that yes, this is something that we can do. Depending upon what they have, depending upon what they are looking to solve, we try to come up with a solution which might be feasible to the kind of environment that they have, to the kind of platforms that they have, and to the kind of expectations that they have from the solution.
So the generally client brings the problem statement to you guys.
Yes. So the client's problem statement will not be mathematical. Client will come to me and they'll say that, okay, I am seeing that for the last 5-6 months, the churn has increased, right? So lots of my customers, so churn, for example, is nothing but my existing customer base going down, right? Now, if the client realizes that they are losing customers, they might come to us and they might say that this is what is happening, right? Help us, or tell us why this is happening, or help us in predicting how can I understand which customers are going to churn so that we can go ahead and proactively reach to those customers, right? So the objective is client comes to us with a business problem. We, through our experience, will try to convert that to a mathematical problem, apply your machine learning, deep learning, whatever is required, take back the insights, take back the output to the client in a simple and sophisticated way, right? Because the client, we expect that they are not technical.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So we try to make things simple for them, and that is where the job of the lead, that is where the job of a consultant. So in Fractal, it's not that we just have data scientists, right? So we'll have consultants as well who are going to communicate with the clients, who are going to talk with the clients, right? And then we form a team depending upon, as I said, the kind of work that they're looking to do, and then we move ahead through that.
Yeah, so everything basically revolves around the data. So in case of CPG companies, how data is evaluated? Like what kind of data you guys get, and do you guys prepare the data or like customers bring the data to you?
So both, right? So we can have a company who comes to us and they say that they have collected the data over the past 5 years, 10 years, right? And all we have to do is that, let's say we have to go and read their data and we have to apply our data science skills, right? There can be another company who says that, okay, this is what I'm looking to do. I don't have too much data, or I don't have any systematic data flowing in. Then Fractal will provide you data engineers. Fractal will set up the data for you, set up the database for you, right? Once when the data is set up, once when the data starts rolling in, then the consulting team, data science team, they pitch in. And then let's say that if they want to go ahead and if they want to take that particular solution into production, right? Then we have the DevOps team. We have the DevOps people who will help them
the
in
scalability
setting
purpose.
up. Yeah. So basically launching apps, launching a website, things like that, right? Which will be driven by the AI solution that we would have created.
Yeah, truly. So I'd like to know what kind of Eureka moments you get in your day-to-day data science work role, right? So most of your work revolves around data, solving the problems that clients bring to the table. So what kind of Eureka moments that you guys come across in your day-to-day life?
So see, what I have realized in the last 10, 12 years, right, that data science is a very impactful job for me. And I'm sure that all the people who are in this field, they would have realized this, because this is one field wherein you are working very close to the business, right? So if I compare this to a proper technical field, right, to a proper technical domain, there you might be contributing to a certain percentage, right? So let's say that if you are a website developer, right,
Yeah.
you might be contributing to a particular page, to a particular tab, things like that, right? As a data scientist, what I have been seeing, or what I have been doing, is that clients, they directly come to us with business problems, and if we are able to solve that, then we go back and we say that, okay, this major business decision, we through our data science, we were able to drive that, right? So if I take certain examples, so we built a recommendation system sometime back for a client in the US, right? A friend of mine who was a customer for this particular client only, he came to India, and he started talking to me and he showed me this thing. And it was the same work that we had done. So that was a moment of happiness for me, because I was able to see my work on someone whom I knew, right? So his phone,
So it's
I
impacting
was
the
able to
direct
see.
life.
So that's what makes me happy. That's what I feel is something that drives me daily to go to work, because it is impactful stuff that you're doing, and it is kind of a techno-functional role. Yes, you will be technical. Yes, you need to be good with data. You need to be a slightly technical person, because you need to understand data. You need to read the data. You need to apply the machine learning, deep learning
Yeah.
models. But all of this thing you are doing for a bigger role. Let's say you are trying to increase sales. Let's say you are trying to decrease churn. Let's say you are trying to forecast what your future business might be, right? So in a way, you are directly communicating with the leadership. So that's what I like, that as a data scientist, it's not that I'm just talking to technical people. I'm also talking to directors. I'm also talking to VPs of companies, because they are the ones who are coming to us with problems. And I think that is daily, not daily, but whenever we launch a project, I think that will be a Eureka moment, because if it is impacting something which, and we feel that we have made that, that makes you feel good.
Yeah, definitely. I get you. So you have vast experience of 10 to 12 years. So back a decade, data science was not such a big thing, right? Now, when we talk about it, everyone is talking about the influence that data science is bringing into the market, the impact that artificial intelligence creating on our day-to-day lives. Everybody is talking highly about it. But I'd like to know how it was when you started as a data scientist.
It was alone. There were not many people who were into data science, and the I would say the uh, the one part which I feel that is very good today is that at that point of time, guidance was not there, right? Intellipaat as a company, if let's say 10 years back, this company would have been there and I would have known, my job would have become easier because I knew about data science. I got into data science because of chance. I started working in my first
I'd like to
company.
know more about that. So, how you entered into data science?
So,
Actually?
Accenture was the first company in which I started working for back in 2011. I was in Chennai, and for the first year, I was working as a Java developer.
Oh,
But there internally, a role opened up for the BAT, and I applied to that. I was good at mathematics, and I was selected for that, and that is where I was exposed to data, not data science, but I was working as a consultant there. I was reading the data through databases. I was formatting the data for the data scientist at that point of time for them to go ahead and create mathematical models on that.
so was it difficult to like sort of transition into Java to into a database role at the
No.
beginning?
So that's what. So that's what I felt. So that's what I tell people as well, that being a hardcore developer, such as a Java developer or let's say a C++ or a C Sharp or a .NET developer, because I've done that, that is a far more technical thing that I feel for myself, right? Moving to data science from Java was a very easy move for me because if Java was 100% technical, Python was only 30-40% because Python has built-in functions. If you understand what you have to do, right, it's all about understanding that, okay, this is what I need to do. And see, it's simple. All of us, right, we watch cricket a lot, right?
Yeah.
When we watch cricket, when Virat Kohli comes to play, right, we see that, okay, Virat Kohli had scored 50 centuries till 2018, 2019, and then he was not able to score for the last 2, 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Now you start thinking, right? Okay, what if I go back to that data and see what were the locations wherein he scored? What were the locations wherein he was not able to score? Right? So it's about understanding the data. So you need to set the path forward that what you want to do with the data, how do you want to understand it, and then tools like Python, R, Excel, whatever will help you in doing that. So it is not that you are starting right from the word go, you are being technical, right? You have that data, you have a problem statement, you need to be critical enough to identify what you need to do with that data. Let's say that you decide that, okay, I will calculate the average of this data just to understand what my customer is spending on an average, right? Then it's as simple as going to Python and using the mean function. That's
Yeah.
it, right? So you don't have to calculate the mean mathematically. Python will do that for you. So I would say Java, if Java is 100% technical, Python is 30-40%. So it will be a very easy transition for people who are into technical roles to a data science role.
Yeah, even the technicalities differ. Like in data science role, you're not supposed to have huge programming background. You're not supposed to have very in-depth programming language like
Exactly.
object-oriented programming and stuff. You're just going to play around with the data, and even if the code is messy, that is also fine, right? So I think the practices also differ.
Yes. So see, data science, there are three major pillars to data science, right? A tool like Python, right? And the job of the tool is to help you do things, right? So first thing is that understanding of data, right? So for that, you should be, let's say, comfortable with a little bit of statistics, right? Understanding how or what are the different ways through which you can understand or explore the data, right? So statistics will be a crucial pillar for data science.
Yeah,
right?
completely.
Second will be a tool, right? So right now I would say 99% of the people are going with Python, right? So let's say Python is the tool, right? So Python will help you accomplish things, right? So if I want to go from point A to point B, I need a car, right? So Python over here is a car which is helping me from reaching from point A to point B, right? And then the third aspect over here is the machine learning, deep learning, the mathematical models, which are again derived from the statistical concepts that we have.
Yeah.
So I think these three pillars, and hence because these three pillars are moving side by side. So it's not that you need to be highly mathematical or highly technical, or you need to be a research scientist into machine learning and all, right? You need to know all of these things so that you can amalgamate them together and create something out of it.
Yeah, truly. Now, coming back to that 10 to 12 year experience all apart, how the data science industry has evolved to the level that it is today.
Okay. Yeah, so I missed that. So see, as I said, when I started at that point of time, data science was fairly new. It was very new. There was no guidance at all, right?
Yeah.
If I would go online, there were a couple of companies which had started in Bangalore who were giving courses, and at that point of time, Python, R, GCP, cloud, all of these things were non-existent. We had something known as SAS. SAS was a tool. This was a paid tool, majorly used by banks. These days as well, SAS is a tool that most banks use, right? But SAS had a certification which was an expensive certification. I think 15-20K per certification, and there were 3 certifications that you had to do: basic, medium, advanced, right? So somehow I got to know that because of my first stint. I got to know that SAS is a tool because I used to work on SAS. Then SAS had certain statistical modeling functions as well, and that was something that you could have done through the advanced certification. So I went through that with my own. I learned all of these things on my own. Whatever help I could find on the web, I went there. But I had to download the student version of the software on my own. I had to get some data at that point of time because data science was fairly new. I remember I reached out to my family members, created some data about their age, about their jobs, and then built a model. So it was tough. It was tough learning things, but if you were able to learn, I would say it was not as tough as it is today, because the competition has grown. At that point of time, if out of 1,000 people, one knew about data science, now out of 1,000, there will be 800 who will know about data science and who will be pursuing a course in data science.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think right now, compared to then, if you come back to today, there is lots of content, lots of material online that is present. There are lots of good institutes which are teaching data science as well, right? But yes, you have that, but along with that, you will have to have that cutting edge. You will get all the guidance that you need online, right? If you want it paid, if you want it free, that depends upon you. But then the competition has also increased. So you will have to be hands on. You will have to work on real life data. Just doing a course might not help you, right? After that, the course will get you started, right? When you start to learn to drive a car, a driving school can just teach you how you can drive, right? You will have to take the car in the real world to understand some more nitty-gritties about that, right? So it is all about that. So that's what I keep telling people, that the institute can give you 50-60%. The remaining 40% you will have to give on your own, and that is through the hands-on knowledge. And that is what has become tough now. At my time, probably there was not many people knew about it, so it was easy getting into data science. Now most of the people know about it, content is there, but then it has become tough landing a job. Tough, I say tough because the basic expectation is not just doing a course. Basic expectation is doing a course, applying whatever you have learned on real data. Then only you will be able to learn.
Yeah, completely. I agree over that point. So moving forward, I'd also like to know, like currently we have these different domains, right? So for example, data analytics is something related to data, but when it is put into the business context, it is called as business analytics. When we are putting data science in context of healthcare, it is changing again. So does the new joinees also have to understand how businesses nitty gritty details work, how business actually functions, the operations? So I'd also like to know your perception about that. What a newbie, like how a newbie should approach a data science.
So that's a very good question because, as I said, right, data science is very closely associated to business. So understanding of a domain is key, right? I keep telling people who, let's say, have 5 years of experience in finance, 5 years of experience in retail, they come to me and they ask me if we can do a course in data science, and I always tell them yes, because today I can find 100 people who have the technical knowledge about data science, right? But if you don't have the domain knowledge, or if you don't have the willingness to learn about the domain, you will never be a good data scientist, because understanding a particular domain is key, right? If we go 25 years down the line, shopkeepers, when we used to go out and buy things, right, shopkeepers knew about their customers, that this customer used to like this customer will like this product. So they were recommending the products on their own, right? In today's world, our customers are running into millions and billions. So I cannot know those customers, but you should know your business. If you know the business, if you know the domain, it helps you in becoming a good data scientist, because there are very, very basic things, right? So let's say we have a feature in retail which is known as recency. How recently a customer visited, right? So let's say if I went to a big bazaar yesterday, my recency would be 1 because I went to big bazaar just 1 day back. Let's say you went to big bazaar 7 days back, so your recency will be 7, right? Now a new data scientist, let's say a recency variable is there, right? And there are some missing values in this variable. Someone who does not have the domain knowledge, someone who does not have the data understanding, right, might impute the missing values by 0. But what is wrong here? When I'm imputing the missing value by 0 for recency, it means that the customer came to the store today. That is incorrect, right? So that is where domain knowledge is required always. So that is where I say data science is the amalgamation of obviously mathematical models, but along with that you should have the business knowledge. That is something that gives the spark to data science roles, because you are interacting with leaders, you are talking with business stakeholders because they are taking care of the business. You are the one who might be understanding the data and giving them insights that okay, this is what is happening, you should do this now, right?
So the business acumen is very important aspect in context of data science or be it data analytics. So if a newbie wants to be into this field, how he should approach it? I mean, what will be the roadmap? What will be the journey he'll have to follow?
See, domain knowledge is something that you can apply, that you can get on the job, right? You can try to, and that is where people are able to differentiate between someone who has done a course and someone who has actual experience, right? But having said that, it's not that you cannot do your own research, right? If I'm applying for a retail company tomorrow, I can go online, right? There are so many tools, generative AI, chat GPT. You go to chat GPT, you ask, right, that what are some of the basics of, let's say, a retail industry from a data science point of view, right? So you can prepare. So obviously for a newbie, the first and foremost thing will obviously be to understand the concept of data science, right? That is the first and foremost thing, because if you don't know that, then domain knowledge will not help you, right? But having known that, right, so let's say you are getting to know that through a particular platform, right? You know that, but after that you will have to expose yourself to some real-time data. There are so many data sets online. You have Kaggle, you have Google data sets wherein there are actual data sets present, right? Go ahead and explore that. So data science is not about just creating machine learning models. That I'll be fairly honest, machine learning, deep learning is just 20% part of a data science project. 50-60% is the data exploration. That is understanding of the data. So if you're able to get some data online, spend time on it. Try to understand what fluctuations are happening, how your customers are behaving, segment that data, visualize that data, right? So again, for a newbie, first and foremost, technical knowledge. You should start with statistics. You should start with the basics of database, SQL and all. Move on to, let's say, machine learning. Move on to Python fundamentals. Then move to machine learning, deep learning if you want to. But then once when you have covered all of these things, start applying all of these concepts to actual data.
Yeah. So nowadays, scalability has also become a challenge, right? So people expect data scientists to have some sort of knowledge about producing scalable products, right? So basically, the products that you guys are going to generate are directly going to be integrated into the applications. So you need to have a acumen about that as well. So how you can approach learning that particular thing, the scalability, creating products that can be like directly integrated into the systems.
See, I would say these are separate roles, right? If I talk about from a real world perspective, a data scientist, maybe 20% of the data scientists are taking models into production, or they are helping the DevOps team doing that, right? But a data scientist per se is majorly the job responsibility entails that you are working with the data, you are creating models. Production, taking the models into production, a data scientist is supposed to help or supposed to work with the DevOps team, right? So ideally, scalability is mostly, in most cases, will be the job of your MLOps or your DevOps team, wherein the expectation from a data scientist will be to collaborate with those teams, right?
Okay.
Having said that, there are certain roles wherein I would not say the designation will be a data scientist. The designation in those cases might become of an AI engineer. AI engineer might be someone who has a fair bit of machine learning, deep learning knowledge. Along with that, they also have the knowledge of deployment of models. But if, let's say, someone wants to learn that, all of this is sequential. First, you learn about data science.
Yeah.
First, you learn about building the models,
Yeah.
right? Once when you think that you have achieved a certain level of proficiency there, then you move on to concepts of MLOps and DevOps and taking things into production, right? And then you can tie these things up. You cannot do these things side by side. You cannot, or if you want to become, let's say, a DevOps engineer, you start with DevOps only.
Yeah.
Then you might not be interested in the data science aspect of things, right? But if you want to do both, then it will be a sequential.
So basically, the production, taking things to the production has been divided into multitude of roles, be it MLOps engineer, ML engineer, or data scientist, or the initial phase of data analyst, right?
Yes.
So I'd like to know about the specific definitions of these roles in at an organization level.
So let's start from a
Like the very
data
beginning
engineer.
of the pipeline, data engineer.
So let's start from a data engineer, right? A data engineer. So when a client comes to us, they will come with a problem,
Yeah.
right? They might or might not have their data. Even if they have data, even if they don't have the data engineers might be needed. They might have data engineers from their own end, or your company might have data engineers who might help them, right? So the job of the data engineers is to get your data streamlined, get them in a required format, create features, right? And ensure that the data pipeline is smooth, right? Because imagine a big bazaar or a Spencer would be having thousands of stores, right? Each and every store is getting POS data daily, right?
Yeah.
Let's assume that for today, out of the thousands of stores, there was a couple of stores for which there was a technical fault because of which data did not flow through, right? These two stores might start giving you null data or might start giving you incorrect data, right? So that is the job of the DE team. That is the responsibility of the DE team. That is, they will create pipelines in such a way they are going to create robust pipelines which are going to give you or create data which can be directly consumed by a data scientist.
Yeah.
Without any further manipulations from a sanity point of view. Right? Your data should be at least in a basic format.
Yeah.
Right? So that will be the role of the DE team, and not just this. Right? The data engineering team. We are living in a world where data is exploding. Right?
Yeah.
10 years back, gigabytes looked huge. Right? Now terabytes are
Even
decent,
smaller, yeah.
right? So now we are in a world wherein data is exploding. So the data engineering team is the one who actually handles the entire storm of data that comes in. Right? So that is the first thing. Then let's say if I talk about what are the concepts of consultants, BAs and DAs, right? Now, depending upon the problem that you're looking to solve. So there are different kinds of projects that you might have.
Yeah.
You might have a descriptive, you might have a project wherein you are just looking to generate some descriptive statistics or some, let's say, prescriptive statistics. What are descriptive? What are prescriptive? Let's say descriptive is I go ahead and I say that in the last 5 years, this is what your customers have been doing. Average spend is this. That is descriptive. Prescriptive is on the basis of the spend of last 5 years, you go ahead and you prescribe, you tell your customers, your clients that this is what we have been seeing. Maybe this trend is going to follow. Maybe you can apply some offers. Maybe you can reach out to the customers. That is prescriptive. But you are not predicting anything, right? So for descriptive and prescriptive type of projects, you might have consultants, you might have DAs and BAs who might be helping you in doing the job. Now let's assume that the problem is more complicated, right? You want to predict into the future,
Okay.
right? And that is where the data scientist comes in. Right? So a data scientist will take in more complicated problems. Right?
Yeah,
So
so
this
predictive
is
analytics.
so when you are trying to predict about future, right? And see, these are the general norms. It's not that a data scientist is not working with prescriptive or descriptive statistics, or a consultant or a BAD is not working, but generally these are the norms. But these terms are actually very, very fragile. There are companies wherein consultants are doing all the work. There are companies wherein data scientists are doing all the work of the data engineers, data scientists, DevOps engineers. So, but these are the definitions that we usually work with.
So you need to be little flexible in terms of that.
Yes, you need to be. Right? Then we have data scientists. Once when the data scientist, or let's say the consultant, right, these teams have created a solution, right? If the solution needs to be taken into production, right? If let's say your business team wants to look at a dashboard of daily insights, right? Let's say that you want to look at churn, and your business wants to see at a daily level that today this is where my churn is standing, right? Let's say day after today my churn has decreased or increased. So if your business will not be interested in the models,
Yeah.
in most of the cases, they are interested in the insights. They are interested in what KPIs you are able to drive or predict. So business is looking for dashboards, they are looking for apps and tools, right? And that is where the job of a DevOps engineer, MLOps engineer comes, right? The DevOps or the MLOps engineer, they will take a raw solution and they will take it into production. They are going to apply pipelines, they are going to use different sets of tools, and they are going to make it into, let's say, a dashboard or a website or anything. So that's, I think these four will be the major roles that we have in the world of data analytics, data science.
So recently, when I have been going through a lot of job descriptions on LinkedIn, I find MLOps as the important contingent in all the data science related job descriptions. So is it a very necessary factor to have MLOps in your backup, or it is like something you could pick up on the way?
As I said, right, the expectation from a data scientist is to coordinate with the MLOps team.
Yeah.
So just having an understanding is fine. You
Okay.
don't need to probably do a deeper dive into the
MLOps.
technicalities of things, but just maybe knowing what are the different tools, right? Because see, as a data scientist, you should create a solution which is in line with what will be expected by your MLOps or DevOps team.
Yeah.
Right? You should create codes in such a way that, because once when you have to create codes at the level of production, your structure of the code will change. You cannot have a notebook. A Jupyter notebook will not do the job for
Yeah.
you. You will have to create an entire sequence of codes, right? Which you will have to call a main code, which will call the sub codes, the child codes, and all, and so on and so forth, right? So that is what is needed. So I would not say the entire MLOps or DevOps, but a basic understanding of what happens, what is the output that will be required, right? What form of output will be required? I think that will be key,
Yeah.
and that is something that you can learn on the job as well.
Yeah, completely. Now, coming back to the big elephant in the room. So now generative AI is taking over the world by storm. Everybody is talking about how generative AI is, changing the lives. People are also frightened because of that fact itself, because it totally works in as a black box, right? You cannot know how it happens, how it works, and that scares hell out of people. So, coming to that point, people think that artificial intelligence would be taking over their jobs. So, what would be your insight on that? What do you think generative AI is, and what impact it will bring on day to day working life of professionals like you and many other in the industry?
So when anyone asks this question, right, I take them 50 years back when, let's say, the calculator was invented. At that point of time, mathematicians, they thought that, okay, now our jobs are gone, right? Microsoft Excel,
Yeah.
right? 20-25 years back. Every time a groundbreaking thing happens, right? Yes, there will be certain uh, uh, redundant jobs that might be taken away, right? But see, the birth of a tool, obviously it will help you, right? So I would say generative AI, chat GPT, right? These are tools.
Yeah.
But in order to use these tools, you will also have to upgrade yourself, right? So generative AI, first of all, it is nothing but all of these machine learning, not machine learning, but deep learning models, highly complicated deep learning models, which are built on billions and billions of features, right? Your text data, right? These are contextual models. They try to learn the patterns from the data, and they just try to predict the things, right? So yes, it is powerful. Yes, it has a capacity of doing so many things that usually humans took a lot of time to do, right? But then, having said that, there are two ways to look at it. Either you upgrade yourself and be someone who is able to use generative AI or chat GPT as a tool, or you be someone who just think that, okay, this has taken over my job, I cannot do anything, right? If you're being the first person, then generative AI, chat GPT, these can be tools that can be very powerful. I will take an example. I think a couple of years back, there was some work that we had to do for one client of us. We had to create a 5-member team to do that in a week.
Oh.
After the advent of generative AI this year, just to check, right, just to check how much time this would have taken me today, I went through and I did that. I had a free day, I did that. Within a day, I was able to do the same thing, right? It does not mean that those 5 people will lose their jobs, because there are new things that are coming up. See, every day, as I said, 10 years back, 1 GB was enough. Today, 1 terabyte is not enough, right? So your data is exploding. When your data is exploding, there are multitude of problems that you are looking to solve. Chat GPT is a tool. Generative AI is a tool, right? It is just generating these sequential predictions. It does not understand what it is giving. For that understanding, there should be a human present who should be taking in that input, right? And then giving it whatever form they want to do, right? So as of now, I think take it to your take it in a positive way. We need to take it because it is a good thing, right? The way it has helped us in uh, removing so many redundant things, right? Doing things in a faster way, right? Clean code, creation of code, right? Explanation of code. This I'm talking from a data science point of view.
Yeah.
Apart from that as well, there are so many domains wherein generative AI is just changing everything, right? But that's a tool. It's a very, very good tool. Yes, nothing like this has happened in the last maybe 50, 60 years in the technology world. But with the advent of a tool, there comes more complicated problems. And in order to solve those more complicated problems, you need to have a human brain which can adapt and which can learn, right? And basically unlearn as well.
So that was a very elaborative answer. Would you like to shed some light on that? Like what project your resume should include if you are a beginner and trying to enter into the data science field?
All right. So projects, yes, you should have projects first of all, but just for the sake of it, my personal advice is that don't just have projects just for the sake of it. Have actual experience on that, right? From a projects point of view, let me go through the common projects or the common problems that clients come to us, right? The first and foremost that everyone should be knowing once when you are trying to become a data scientist are classification problems, right? Where you are trying to predict a decision. Maybe will the customer buy a product or not,
Yeah.
right? Will the customer attrite or not attrite, right? Will my sales increase or decrease? Things like that. So these are classification projects. You have classification models like your logistic regression, random forest, tree-based models, deep learning models, right? So you should have one good project around that, right? And try to. So let's say if you're transitioning into data science from some technical role or you have some experience, right? Try to leverage that experience. Let's say that you are working in a logistics company, you know about logistics, right? Go ahead and try to download some data about logistics companies, right? Some data. Because if you're able to do that, you are tying two things up: the technical knowledge and the domain knowledge that you already had.
Yeah.
For students, you can go ahead and pick up simpler domains, maybe, right? So let's say retail. Everyone will be familiar with retail because you are going out shopping, right?
Yeah.
You are going and doing that, right? So but if let's say that you are someone you are transitioning from a job, try to pick these projects from your own domain so that you are able to get a better understanding of the data, and you will also be able to see the real life impact that these models are making, right?
Yeah.
The first one is classification
Classification.
models. The second is problems which are known as regression problems, right? Where what if I want to predict the spend of a customer? What if I'm working in the finance industry or I want to predict the price of a share, right? What if I want to predict anything which might be continuous, right? So let's say the salary, the average spend, things like that. So these are again one set problems. Now these are open-ended problems that I'm telling you, but once again, you should take those domains with which you are comfortable with, right? Just not just for the sake of it that okay, this is a project I have to do. Pick up a domain which you understand, then try to go ahead and apply these models and see even if these models are able to make an impact. Just for
Yeah.
the sake of it, you should not go ahead and build these models, right? So classification regression. Third is unsupervised learning segmentation, right? Segmentation is very helpful. It helps you in understanding your customers. As I said, companies, corporates, they have millions of customers, right?
Right.
You cannot understand these customers by hand. So segmentation models such as k-means, hierarchical clustering, things like that, right? They will help you in understanding your customer base. And segmentation, just not the technical segmentation. You will need to go ahead and profile those or understand those segments as well. Let's say you went ahead and you divided your data into 5 segments, right? try to understand what the customers are doing in each and every segment. Maybe in one segment customers are buying more into healthy products, maybe in other segment customers are attriting or churning, right? So try to bring out these insights, because when you are going to apply for jobs, people will be looking for actionable insights that you can give, not just the model root mean square error or the MAPE and things like that, right? That is three. Fourth, very critical, is time series forecasting models, right? So forecasting into the future, time series forecasting, time series data is slightly different from the normal data that we work with, right? So time series forecasting problems can be anything that is, let's say if I take an example, what will be the customer care, what will be the calls that I will be receiving regarding, let's say, new products or installation of new products, maintenance and things like that, right? So that will be your time series models. And finally, the fifth one, I would say recommendation systems, because we are living in a world which is full of apps. You have Netflix, you have Hotstar, you have Spotify, right? So in all probabilities, you might work for a product company which is into all of these things, right? And recommendation system, every business needs a recommendation system, right? An Amazon, a Flipkart, any e-commerce platform, right? Any financial company, right? So recommendation system, once again, I would say the final project would be a recommendation system. Try learning about content-based models, collaborative models, matrix factorization, and try to apply that. And once again, the most important part in all of these 5 projects, it is not about the evaluation metrics. If you come to me and say that I worked on this project and this gave me an accuracy of 98%, I will know that you don't have actual experience. If you come to me and say that I created this model and this was the impact that it made, right? This is what I was able to see. 6 months down the line, I was able to see that this is how well my model was doing, or these were the results that were coming out from a business point of view. Then that means that you have actually worked on that.
Yeah. So, what is the hiring process looks like when you guys evaluate the data science candidates, and how the process seems to be? Like, what parameters you guys actually test the candidates for?
So for those viewers who are thinking that it will just be projects, it is not just projects, because projects can only be the technical part, right? If you have not gone ahead and if you have not applied yourself, right, then people who are in the industry for tens of years, right, they will be able to differentiate that. They will be able to understand that whether you have done a certification or do you have actual experience or not. It's okay if you have done a certification, because data science is booming, because there is a huge demand. Yeah, that's fine. But just a certification won't do, right? A company like Intellipaat can get you started. Yeah. It can give you the correct direction. It can teach you every technical aspect, but then you will have to apply yourself, right? And that is what we are trying to figure out. Now that can happen through a technical test, that can happen through a technical interview, that can happen through a managerial level round, right? So every company has their own process, but generally the process will be, so the major or the bulk filtration happens at the technical round, because that's generally what I've seen, is that almost 20% of the people are only able to go through the technical round. So, and that again takes us back to the first thing, that technically you should be sound. If you want to become a data scientist, the first level of filtration will be a technical test. It might be an online test, it might be a test on call, right? Anything. They might ask you to share your screen and do something. That means that you will have to do actual coding, right? That's number one. In the second round, generally, we try. In the second round, if you have cleared the second round, we know that technically you are adequate, you are good, right? Now we would like to find out whether you have only technical knowledge, or you also have some real world, or you have applied yourself, right? So in this round, you might have a technical interview, which might be a techno-functional interview, right? We might talk about the projects that you have worked on, and this is a round wherein most of the times we are able to find out if someone has only has technical experience, or they have also, let's say, worked on some data sets, right? It's fine if you're not a data scientist, it's fine if you're a student, but you have so many platforms. You have Kaggle. Chat GPT can generate data for you, right? Yeah, right. Do that. Right? If you're applying that, if you're applying yourself, that is what we'll try to find out in the second round. If at all there is a third round, that will be more about how you think about certain problems, right? This can generally happen in the second round only. I might give you case studies. So let's say you come to me, you say that you have worked on regression classification problems, right? I would want to know how you think. because I know that you might not be you might not have been able to work on all the kinds of problems. I'll give you a problem. I'll say that okay, this is the problem that I'm facing. How will you solve it using data science? So the ability of being creative, and the being creative can only come when you are technically sound, when you have applied yourself. So these three levels, right? Technical, then your application, then your how you think about new problems,
Critical thing.
right? And all of these are sequential. You cannot be a critical thinker if you don't know about the technicalities or you have not applied yourself. So I think these three, and then let's say a product company can take 6 rounds, 7 rounds. Let's say some other company might take 3, 4 rounds, but generally the rounds will focus around these areas only.
Okay, right. So, coming back to the conclusive part of our podcast, I'd like to ask you one more question. So, we have huge community of learners at Intellipaat, and most of them are studying data science, right? And they want to make a career change into this industry. So, what kind of advice will you give them so that they'll be able to excel in the industry itself?
All right. So assuming that these are students of Intellipaat, or let's say prospective students, they would have gone through the content, or they would be going through the content that Intellipaat has created, right? So the first of all, I have gone through the content that Intellipaat has. It's an exhaustive course, right? I would say for a starter role in data science, not even for a starter, let's say 2 to 3 years of experience as well, the content that has been covered is good, is exhaustive, right? But as I said, you can learn to drive a car in a test driving school, but still you might go ahead and crash on the real road. Why? Because you don't have real world experience, right? So that is what needs to be done now. Just if you think that just going through the classes on Saturday and Sunday, that is enough. No, spend at least an hour a day, right? And pick up different modules, maybe visualization, maybe EDA, right? And see, when you are doing a class, when you are doing a course, someone is telling you what to do, right? But in the real world, that will not happen. You will be given a problem, you will be asked to solve it. How will you do that, right? So for that, you should have actual hands-on experience, and that is what I tell everyone who comes to me, right? That you can learn the technical aspects, right? Now, if I go back 10, 12 years down the line, technically at that point of time, I had learned some other tool, right? That tool might not be helping me today, but the experience or the actual hands-on or the actual knowledge about the process that I got from that tool is something that is keeping me going till today, right? So your tools might change. Maybe today you have Python, maybe 10 years down the line you have something else, right? But if you don't know how to apply yourself, or how to, let's say, see, data is a vast ocean, right? How you want to explore that is something you will have to give the commands. You will have to think that, okay, this is what I have to do, not some trainer, right? And in the course, a trainer has helped you in figuring out that, okay, this is what generally happens. But if you want to if you want to be, see, again, there is a huge demand. If you want to stand out, you need to apply yourselves. That is the only thing. Technically, through this course, you should be sound. But as I said, technical assessment is only one part. There are two other things that are sequentially tied to it, right? So technically, you would be sound after doing a course. After that, you will apply yourselves. That is where you will be able to cover the second and the third parts that I had mentioned, right? And that is it, right? Data science is a booming field. I have seen so many people personally. I have groomed so many people who have gotten into data science, and right now they are actually doing a wonderful job, right? So it is tough, but it is rewarding as well, right? And yes, there is a huge amount of competition, but if you put in the work, I don't see that you will not be able to land a good job, right? We have so many options, we have so many prospects, right? If I talk, I'll just give one last thing from my own experience. During COVID, peak COVID, right? I had a few friends of mine in data science who had lost their jobs. During peak COVID, they were able to go ahead and they were able to secure new jobs in data science. So that's how much in demand data science is, right? So if you are up for it, if you have the correct skills, you will be able to make the transition into data science very easily. But then you will have to put in the hard work.
That was very insightful answer. Thank you so much for being here. I think this podcast will help millions of learners out there who are trying to grasp what data science is and how they could basically start learning data science. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and we
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much.